We're rolling. Okay. Listen, it's a little late for me, but there's some breaking news that I need to attend to. This has to do with the Evergreen State College, which in the spring of 2017 experienced a major intersectional breakdown. Now, what has happened is that over those last 2 years, George Bridges, the president of the state college, has progressively sent the college down the social justice path and kept on going down this path and doing it. Furthermore, even if you're a social justice advocate, those who are social justice advocates at the Evergreen State College still think that George Bridges has not done enough or gone far enough. So he's been incompetent no matter how you cut it. And finally, one faculty drew a line in the sand and forced other faculty to petition the Agenda Committee, which is the committee that oversees faculty to administration relations, to force a vote of no confidence. I'm going to read this letter, and then we're going to read another letter and another letter and another letter, because now George Bridges' job is finally, at last, at least being talked about being put upon the line. So, to begin, to Faculty Chair Steve Blakesley and the Agenda Committee, we respectfully request that the Agenda Committee schedule a faculty vote this spring quarter on the motion stated below. A week or two prior to the vote, we ask that the Agenda Committee email the proposed motion unaltered to all faculty and informing them when and where the vote will take place. To the Board of Trustees and President Bridges, we acknowledge that some of Evergreen's recent problems existed prior to the appointment of President Bridges. We also recognize that the current administration has been committed to addressing these challenges. Unfortunately, instead of stabilizing the college's financial and enrollment issues, President Bridges and the present administration have only worsened this situation, putting Evergreen's future in great peril. Since adopting President Bridges' vision for Evergreen, student enrollment and retention has plummeted. Our financial reserves are depleted, side note, by a whole bunch of marketing and lawsuits to continue, and we are facing the worst budget crisis in the history of the college. Evergreen's reputation as an innovative liberal arts college that provides a rigorous and outstanding education has been severely damaged. We therefore propose a vote of no confidence in President George Summer Bridges and his administration, and request that the Board of Trustees dismiss the president immediately. And this is how the Agenda Committee responds. The Agenda Committee respectfully declines to bring this matter before the faculty at any of our remaining meetings this year. Pretty strong, right? So certain faculty want to speak to other faculty, and the Agenda Committee says, no, we're not going to talk about this issue. And here's their reasoning. After weighing all of the information and arguments in hand, I seriously doubt they've weighed all of the arguments in hand. The committee members felt strongly and unanimously, that shows you how diverse this group is, that the risks of disruption, division, and serious damage to the college's reputation are far too great to warrant a public action, especially in the absence of an acute crisis. How much more of a crisis do you need to be facing before something's acute? Actually, okay, right, it's not an acute crisis. Like leukemia, it's a chronic crisis. It's a huge, detrimental crisis going on. What do you mean acute crisis? We equally oppose other measures, such as petitions, that would necessarily become public documents and would also tend, as did a faculty petition that circulated in spring 2017, to divide the community at a time when we most need to work together. These people don't understand the severity of trouble that they are in right now under this administration. And furthermore, it doesn't seem like they actually want to look at the fact that making a public statement against George Bridges would actually help enrollment. It would get certain people off their back, namely me, probably a couple other people that you know of. So basically, the Agenda Committee declines. Now, Mike Peros, stand-up guy, the Batman to Brett Weinstein's Superman, at least that's how it operates in my mind of fantasy Evergreen individuals. Mike doesn't take this no for an answer. He responds to the Agenda Committee by writing, Faculty Chair Blakesley, Agenda Committee, and President Bridges. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend this week's meeting between the Agenda Committee and faculty members Eric and Rita. As you are aware of, we have proposed that faculty vote on whether they believe that the Board of Trustees should dismiss President Bridges. I've been informed that the committee has refused to bring our motion up to the faculty at large. I find it unacceptable that the Agenda Committee would deny the rights of faculty to openly discuss and express their opinion on such a vital matter that affects the future of the college. I had thought that the committee's primary role was to engage with faculty and their interests, including minority viewpoints. There's a wordplay in there with that word minority, paired with viewpoints. So then he quotes a chunk from the Evergreen Faculty Handbook. The art of administration at Evergreen must be the art of protecting, stimulating, supporting, and rewarding good teaching. The academic structure of Evergreen enables faculty members to know and feel their stake in the success of their program and their stake in the success of the Evergreen idea. When the structure did not support our goals, it was changed, and it will be changed again as need arises. We now have a structure where faculty serve administrators rather than fulfill our primary mission, which is to serve students. The committee's refusal is further evidence that the current structure does not support faculty goals of teaching students. It must be changed. It appears that the Faculty Agenda Committee is more concerned about politics and immediate public optics rather than the long-term success and sustainability of the college. The motion is being put forth in good faith. We believe that the college's reputation is worsened by having George Bridges as our current president, and that Evergreen cannot recover as long as he is here. It is possible that faculty disagree, perhaps even most faculty, but we have no way of knowing. A vote either way establishes that faculty care about the overall health of the college, even if it is divided. On the other hand, suppressing faculty viewpoints sends a message to future, current, and past Evergreen students that college faculty are weak, self-serving, and intolerant. The whole point of having a vote of no confidence is to make it public, allowing the college to move forward. I have been forthright and transparent in my views and have made an effort to communicate my dissatisfaction directly with President Bridges and the Board of Trustees without rancor. If for some reason President Bridges quietly resigns, the general public and potential students will question why the faculty failed to speak up. They will consider our silence as a unanimous and tacit approval of George Bridges' tenure as president. I strongly urge the Agenda Committee to reconsider their decision. The founding faculty of the college would be embarrassed to find out that a small faculty committee now control their colleagues' ability to have open discussions. I have included the original letter and motion below. I would appreciate a reply by next Monday. Thank you for your consideration. Now, Steve Blakesley writes, and this is the meat of the matter. Steve Blakesley responds to Mike. Dear Mike, thank you for your letter and the copy of the proposed motion, which was not distributed at the Agenda Committee's meeting and which I have not seen before. So apparently something got lost in the works there. Like your previous correspondence with me, your note is impassioned and informed by principle. I wonder what he'd say about me. I know I'm more passionate than principle more often than not, but I try, I guess, to continue. While I don't agree with all of your arguments here, and certainly not with your characterization of the Agenda Committee, its responsibilities, and its practices, I acknowledge that you are acting in good faith. At the moment, I'd like to share just 2 points in response. First, the Agenda Committee has not made any final decisions, despite saying that they're not going to speak about this at faculty meetings for the rest of the year, which seems kind of final to me, but they haven't made any final decisions. And we hope that we can all collaboratively make our way toward an understanding or agreement that does not involve a public action with enormous potential to hurt, not heal, the college and its reputation. Let's pause for a moment. He hopes that we can collaboratively make our way toward an understanding or agreement that does not involve a public action with enormous potential to hurt and not heal the college. Listen, this is a public college. Every single action that every one of these individuals makes is a public action. Whether they like it or not, they are public servants. And that they don't understand that blows my mind. Maybe it's not a mischaracterization. It's not a mischaracterization. He chose every single word for plausible deniability. But the fact remains that they are already in the public eye. And if they don't stand on some sort of principle, then all they're going to have left is the incompetence of George Bridges, or possibly the con of George Bridges in whatever game that he's playing. To continue, second, we will take an important step toward a better understanding tomorrow, Friday afternoon. This is great news. When representatives of the Agenda Committee and the Board of Trustees will meet with faculty supporting the motion so we can discuss the issues. My hope, everyone's hope, I'm sure, is that open and respectful communication tomorrow will help to shed light on the best next steps. The basic gist of this is that they don't want to actually go public against Bridges. They want him basically they either want to quash dissent or they want him to leave quietly so that there's no public outcry. It's too late for that. This is 2 years in coming. The eyes are on this room. So that's off the table. The question is, do the faculty have a voice in this matter, or do the Board of the Trustees and the Agenda Committee just make some backroom deal and George gets dismissed, or they embrace him? What's the next step? But we do know that at least, serious discussion is being had about the presidency of George Sumner Bridges. Let's finish this up. Steve Blakesley writes, I will close by saying that the Agenda Committee most certainly does support the right of faculty to openly discuss and express opinions on vital matters. In fact, I've spent the past 2 years as chair trying to ensure that any Evergreen faculty member can speak freely in our assembly without fear of intimidation, harassment, or retribution. There is, however, a big difference between having a frank and open discussion about leadership at the college and instigating what most faculty members at most institutions of higher education would consider an action of last resort. Listen, the time is long past for an action of quote unquote last resort. Right? So whether or not they want it to be an action of last resort, this action is going to show the character of the people in that room. And I'll have more for you hopefully soon. We'll see what happens. But we know at least that the Board of Trustees has to look at this, and the Agenda Committee has to look at this. And now probably, not because of these people, probably, I don't know who knows about this. I don't know if they've actually told the faculty what's going on. I received these emails from a couple of different sources, but I don't know how many people actually know about this. I hope everybody knows about this, and that's why I'm making this video. And furthermore, I could have framed this correctly and tried to be all nice and political about this, but I'm putting my feelings out there on the table, more passion than principle, but the principle is integrity and competence should rule the day, not scheming and a weird ideological masterminding of a public institution of higher education to the detriment of the community and the state and the country at large. This is Benjamin Boyce. I'm signing off. Good night.
This is a story of how a Democrat voting veterinarian working with mostly Republican livestock owners became a bigoted professor at a left-wing progressive liberal arts college. It is about a collection of professors that are so blinded by their advocacy that they cannot fathom different viewpoints. It involves a newly appointed president who believes in ideological safe spaces, who endorsed a strategic equity plan that will hurt the very students it is trying to help. Following student protests and controversy about the day of absence, day of presence, Evergreen administrators sent out ominous notices labeling free speech advocates and persons who simply do not agree with official campus opinion as potentially violent. It was a desperate move, using fear tactics to rally the masses and prevent students from thinking clearly. That morning was the first time that I was actually nervous coming to campus, not because of threats of white supremacists, but because I was worried that someone on campus would think that I might be one of them. And then we got the alert on campus. I could see the fear in some of our students' faces as I helped escort a student of color to her dormitory. Then I decided to stay on campus for a while, and an administrator approached and asked, how did we get to this point? I guess safe spaces can be dangerous places. What I meant by this is that if we protect students from ideas that may upset them because they are different than their own, we also create fear of people who have different viewpoints, including the invasion of physical safe spaces. And these are the spaces that do need to be protected. In my opinion, the primary purpose of an education is to free students from narrow perspectives, limited thinking, and partisanship in order to obtain knowledge. In fact, one of the 5 foci of learning at Evergreen is learning across significant differences. Of course, these differences include race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, etc. But more importantly, students need to learn across ideological differences. When social justice is institutionalized in a manner that fundamental questions about justice, equity, diversity, sustainability, etc., are discouraged, then the institution cannot be inclusive nor educational. We are left with a campus population that is incapable of self-reflection, who reinforces their own beliefs at the expense of others. Once Evergreen implicitly adopts a particular vision and value system, then it takes away freedom of thought and decision-making from individuals that are members. At the end of each year, the college asks students to write an academic statement where they candidly reflect upon their shortcomings while discussing their future educational goals. In order for Evergreen to move forward from this, we have to do the same thing that we are asking of our students. This means taking responsibility and undergoing sincere self-examination. By refocusing our mission as a college that teaches students how to think rather than what to think, we can restore our reputation as a premier learning institution.
All right, are there any questions from committee members? Senator Oban.
I just want to say well said.
Thank you.